and welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have a side dish for you. This is sort of the restaurant-style Mexican rice that you'd find at most Tex Mex restaurants. Typically, it is made with what is called a sofrito. We'll show you how to do that. And it's really, really lovely when it's fresh and warm instead of the typically microwaved ones you get at restaurants. So we'll start with our ingredients. We're starting with rice. We're just using plain white rice for this. We're going to be using some cherry tomatoes, or grape tomatoes, some garlic, a carrot, an onion, some canned poblano peppers that we canned, some frozen peas, and a little bit of stock. We're using chicken stock, but you can use vegetable stock or mushroom stock, whatever you prefer in here. And the first thing we're going to do is make the sofrito. Now, this is sort of basically a sauce that we're going to be cooking the rice in. And for this recipe, we're actually going to be using a rice cooker. Because a lot of these recipes you can do either in a pot normally or in a rice cooker. We're going to use a rice cooker just to show you how easy it is. So we're going to get some of our veggies ready. We're going to chop up the onions a little bit just so that they're a little bit more reasonable size for the stick blender to be able to manage. So we're going to be getting those into reasonable sized pieces, and those are just going to go into our blender cup with the garlic and the tomatoes. Now's a great time to add a little bit of salt. Of course, we're going to need to season all of this. You can layer these a little bit if you like. It just helps to have some of the juicier ingredients on top of the onions. It helps to sort of lubricate the blade of the stick blender while it's going through. And we're just going to toss those poblano peppers on top. Now we're going to blend all this. It doesn't matter if things get crushed a little bit in there because we are going to just go ahead and blend all of this. So we're going to use our stick blender here, our immersion blender. And you just want to carefully get that, work it in there so that you get some of the liquid out of the tomatoes, blend up those poblano peppers a little bit, and eventually you get a beautiful smooth sofrito like this. Now, if you want to get all of the bits of tomato skin out, you can, if you would like, strain this. So you can put this through a tammy or anything like that, and it will get rid of all those tomato skins. We didn't feel the need to do that. They add a little bit of flavor, and we think there's nothing wrong with it. So into our stainless steel pan, we are going to add a little bit of oil. We're actually using bacon grease for this. And we're also going to add a little bit into our nonstick pan, and this is where we're going to be toasting the rice in just a little while. So we're going to start off with the sofrito, and we do want to cook this down. So you can see here it's very liquidy, of course. It's full of tomatoes and those canned peppers and the onion. A lot of liquid in there. We want to reduce this a little bit and sort of concentrate that flavor. So we're just going to pop this into this nice hot pan. You can see it sizzling around the outside there. And we're just going to let this cook for a little while until it is a little bit reduced, a little bit less soupy, and that's going to make the flavor base for our rice. In the meantime, we're going to get our carrot ready, so we're going to chop this into pretty small pieces. And we're just going to get it into the dice form here, so we're going to cut it into panels and then sticks, and then cut the dice from that. Now, the carrot does take a little bit of time to cook, so we're going to toast the carrot with the rice. We're going to toss this into that nonstick pan with the rice while the rice is toasting. Good time to check in on our sofrito. And you can see it's already starting to cook down a little bit. Some of that liquid is boiling off. You just want to make sure nothing is sticking and nothing is burning on the bottom of your pan. You don't want that to scorch. In the meantime, while that is cooking, we are going to wash our rice. So we're just going to rinse it a couple of times. Make sure you got good clean hands and run that under some nice cold water. And you can see a lot of that extra starch just coming off of the rice. With washing this off, it really helps to keep the rice from sticking too much after it's cooked. So you get those nice sort of individual kernels instead of really sticky rice once it's cooked. We're going to do it a second time here, and each time you will notice that the water gets slightly less milky when it comes off of the rice. Just gently drain that off. If you're careful about it, you won't lose many grains of rice down the drain or anything. And on our third one, you can see here, it's much less milky. You can actually see the rice through the water. So that's pretty much it. We're going to drain it from here. And you want to get as much of the water out of there as you can. It's okay if it's still a little damp when it goes into the pan. So you definitely want to get as much water out as you can. So let's drain that thoroughly. And then from here, that's going to go straight into that hot pan full of bacon grease. And we're going to toast the rice a little bit. The French technique is called to nacrer it. So it's just a sort of a gentle toasting on the rice. That's going to go into the hot pan. And you want to make sure you get all of it. And you want to make sure it's all nicely covered with that oil because that will help it toast a little bit. And then we're going to toss in our carrots as well. There goes our carrots. We're just going to give that a little toss. And we're just going to let that toast for a little while. Now, do make sure you're keeping an eye on the sofrito. As I said, you want to make sure nothing is scorching, nothing is burning while it's boiling, while it's reducing. And you can see here it is already reduced significantly. It's quite a lot less juicy. It's less soupy. And you can see the bottom of the pan staying when you move the scraper over it. And you want to just keep cooking it until you get to about here. So you can see when the boiling is individual bubbles that stay in the same place, and when you move it, it sort of stands up instead of flowing back to fill the gap. You're pretty much ready. So we're just going to take that off the heat. Meanwhile, with the rice, you can see some of these rice grains are starting to get a little toasty. They've got that nice sort of bright white outside, and they're getting a little toasty bits on them, and the edges of the carrots are beginning to show some translucency. That's ready too. So from there, we're going to pop this into our rice cooker. So in goes the rice with the carrots. And on top of that, we're going to add our sofrito. Now, all of the amounts are going to be in the description below. And once you've added your sofrito and you've got that covering your rice, we do need to make up a little bit because we boiled out so much liquid from the sofrito. You can see it's quite a thick paste now. We're going to make up the difference in liquid with the stock. That's where the chicken stock comes in. As I said, you could also use vegetable stock if you want. You can also use just plain water for this, but it's not going to have as much flavor. So just give that a light little stir. You want to make sure that everything's combined in there. And once everything seems well combined, we're just going to put the lid down on our rice cooker. Making sure that there's nothing on the outside of it. We're just going to put the lid down on our rice cooker and start the cooking process. So really, really easy. Once that is close to being done, we're going to get our peas ready. So we're going to add, these are frozen. They have ice in them and everything. So we're just going to add a little bit of water and pop that in the microwave briefly just to warm them up. And then our sofrito rice is ready. We've got our now microwaved peas, our frozen peas. These are some nice fresh field peas that we froze ourselves. And those can go right in. And then you just want to give it a stir to make sure it's all well combined. And you can see it's really lovely. All of the grains are sort of individual. They're not sticking to each other. And once you've got it all well combined, it's a great time to just make sure that everything comes out okay, that the taste is good. If it needs any salt at this point, it would be the time to add it. So just give it a taste. And once you've seasoned it up, it's ready to go. And that's it. Super, super easy, really delicious, fantastic. Really gives you that Tex Mex restaurant style experience at home, and is way easier than it has any reason to be. Absolutely delicious side dish for any kind of dish that you would normally serve with rice. So we hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Caleb try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.